Well, Jim Bishop,
Yeah.
welcome to Desert Island Scenarios.
Desert Island, great.
And thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Happy to be here. So, well, my pleasure. I'd like to acknowledge right up front that yes, you beat me earlier, so you can just add that to your list.
Yeah,
of
my
things.
first question is: have you won all your
Yeah,
scenarios this week?
I
so
knew
far?
that was being set up, so I'm just cutting it to the chase.
How'd your second game go?
I won my first one, lost my second one,
Yep.
and won my second. So I'm 50-50 in the
Yeah.
Illuminating Rounds mini.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. You played us both.
I'm
You got
hoping I'll get Martin tomorrow on the championship table and then just get to beat you then. But we'll see.
I'm hoping to avoid you.
I'm really hoping to avoid you. Yeah,
I'm looking to avoid you as well. So
No slight on you as a person or your ability.
I'm planning to use the same dice.
I really can't complain because, like I said earlier, my dice were good early, but yours were definitely good late. And then,
Yeah.
And then my inability to pass morale checks, and
Yeah.
I could have lived without that if I could have rallied back. But not being able to rally back at all was just like a double curse. So
And I'm going to ask you,
But
do
you
you
played
remember
well.
the scenario you played? What it was called?
I can't remember. What
was
it's
it
Yeah.
wasn't it Grebes or
We were
No,
Grebes.
no.
We did the
no?
Grebe one.
Then it was the was it Comfort Milakovo or something
a
like that.
word like that in it.
I
but
knew it had
don't-
a big long title. I didn't know. if
Yeah,
you-
yeah. All I know is I destroyed his flamethrower tank on the first shot. Just
Yeah.
got it, but then it was all downhill from there.
Yeah.
And really, I had him at a point where he had 5 squads sitting in a woods hex, and if I could have survived a 4 flat, I would have been able to put him there and knocked all 5 of them
Yeah,
out. But-
and that would have been the end of the I'd have lost then. Yeah.
and then I broke
Yeah.
he broke the guy there,
Yeah.
and that was just the beginning
I-
of a long series of broken
I was
units.
close to resigning then, and
Yeah.
I'm very surprised that I managed to claw my way back.
Yeah, I
but
thought-
it was your inability to rally
Yeah,
was
Yeah.
unbelievable.
but
yeah,
it
that's
happens.
the game.
It happens. Sometimes you're the bug, and sometimes you're the windshield.
So why do people know you, Jim? As an introduction, how do people know you?
It's top set, isn't
Most
it?
people know me because I have been out in tournaments a lot. I go out,
Yeah.
I get out a lot. I've been to, now since I live in Europe, I've been to a lot of European tournaments where I've met people. I've been to ASLOC, and probably 10, 15 years in a row I went. And I've been just all over.
Yeah.
So,
And you run a great website.
yeah, I also do Jekyll, or The Bishop Says. I am the bishop behind The Bishop
Yeah,
Says.
yeah.
And I've been running that now for about a year and a half or so. Well, about just over 12 months, really, I guess.
And some excellent articles on there. Some excellent kind of nice lengthy, not too lengthy, but nice like kind of bite-size almost articles.
Yeah. Well, I try to mix bite-size rules articles with some of the longer ones. I initially set out to not even write longer articles. I didn't think I would do it, but there was a lot of, when I wrote the prisoner article that we talked about on Illuminating Rounds the last time around, there was a lot of want for it. There was a lot of consumption of it, and so I said, okay, well, let's try another one. And then Toby did his defending article, but I was working on a defending article, and I felt kind of weird publishing mine after I did his, but I still published out there. We really started out with talking about fortifications and how you use them and what I think they're used for, and that led to a defending article, and then I also worked on that attacking article, which was originally released in LFT.
That's right. Yeah.
And I've posted that. I worked with Xavier, and Xavier said, yeah, I've sold probably as many as I'm going to sell, so you can go ahead and republish it, because that was always going to be the deal. But I was waiting long enough for Xavier to get some return on his space. And so when he gave me the green light, I went ahead and I published it. But even doing that, I didn't take the artwork he did in his magazine was beautiful. But I didn't want to. He gave me permission to use the artwork, and I could have certainly put it on my blog. But I didn't want to do that because I wanted there to be a reason to go and buy the magazine. If you haven't bought the magazine, please go buy it. But the article itself is available. So
Right. And I like the fact that you've done articles on some like storage. We talked about the new storage of the 3D printing, and you've done how to be a better player and all kinds of different bits and pieces, and then really specific articles as well.
And a lot of research goes into those rules ones, doesn't there?
yeah. I mean, so fortunately for me, so the unsung hero of ASL has always been Klaus.
Of course,
Klaus
yeah.
Malmstrom.
Yeah.
And so I get to talk to Klaus on pretty much, probably more than he wants to talk to me. So he helps review some of those rules articles. He helps me to make sure that I'm on sound grid.
Yeah.
And he doesn't always proofread them before I post them, but he almost always reads them, and then I get these little notes back. And it's kind of very helpful because he helps me be consistent with the language.
Yeah.
It helps me be consistent with some of the stuff and consistent with what MMP uses in their language. So there's usually a pretty good crossover in that. And so he's very helpful. I've had other folks. Andy Hershey has helped me. I don't know. The names go on. Jack Hong Kong Wargamer has helped several times and looks at them. Dave Garvin usually reads articles to at least give me an idea that I'm on the right path.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And I posted one today, even though I was here. Just want the record to show that even away, I'm still keeping
Brilliant.
it going.
Good man.
I shall have a look at that.
Yeah.
So over the week sometime.
So we're going to take all those articles away from you.
Three games of ASL in one day and an article published. So I wonder, what have you done for ASL?
So you've none of that stuff is with you. You're going to the island with none of it, everything taken away from you. But you're going to have 3 scenarios. And you're going to know what your first scenario that you would like to take with you.
So the first scenario I'd like to take with me is Polish Requiem, the original version, not the one that MMP republished.
Okay.
So the original version published by LFT. If you're not aware, they had the FT17s can only have a 37 or a CMG. They can't have both. And the original counters MMP published in, I think the first Doom battalions had both. They had the CMG, and that I thought was a much better balanced version of the scenario. And so I love that version. The modified version says no, you can't have the CMGs, and they put in 2 extra squads.
And it's actually more historically accurate, I suppose, in that sense.
Yeah,
it's not such a good game.
But it's not as good a game because instead of having tanks that die, you have squads that can route and get back, and the squads have a little bit more flexibility. Remember, those FT17s only have 5 movement factors, and one of those is a start and a stop. So they really don't get very far in the game, whereas a squad can double time. It has just more freedom of movement, and so I think it changes the game. I love the scenario. I've probably played that scenario more than any other scenario I've ever played.
Wow. So how many times would that be?
Probably 10 or 12 times.
Okay. All right.
I've played it, and then the person I play it with, of course, is Gary Fortenberry.
So he's your pick for
He's
a
my
visitor.
pick for that visitor
because
because Gary and he used to be my neighbor, essentially lived a couple miles from me. We played all the time. Him and I were the primary play tester behind most of his packs that he did. And the reason is Polish Requiem. I think it's the first time I ever beat him was in playing Polish Requiem.
Oh, okay.
This is because he tended to beat you.
Oh, he beat me like a drum. He's just he is one of the top players in the U.S.
in the world, maybe,
and probably at least in the U.S. and probably in the world. I mean,
the world,
I would rank him top 10 of all the people I've ever played. And so, tough opponent. I played him a lot. Played him all the time. Was always a part of his play testing and stuff, and so he's just a good friend. And so I'm sorry to drag him to the desert island. Hopefully we got some wild natives that he can get squared away with. But
and hopefully you can beat him at Polish Requiem.
I don't really care.
One more time.
I don't really care if I beat him or not. Yeah. I just enjoy spending time with him. I enjoy his friendship.
Yeah.
And so to me, and as you'll hear as we're talking here, it's not most of the scenarios that I'm picking aren't really scenarios that anybody really cares about. It's the people because I enjoy
is he a fun opponent as well? Is he a tough opponent?
Oh yeah, he's tough.
Yeah,
he is good, and he would say clean living. I mean, I was hauled down. I remember this one time that Gary and I were playing. I got 2 tanks hauled down behind a wall. Life is good. He drives right up to me. I miss my defensive fire shots. He bounding fires, hits them both in the tournament, blows, and the turret blows them up, and he just says, that's clean living. Drives his tanks away. And it was like he probably had like a 1 in 20 chance of being able to do it, but he did it twice in a row.
Right.
So.
Martin, you tell a funny story about Gary helping us out with some victory conditions.
Yeah, and actually, I think it was you. You posted on Game Squad because some of the victory conditions on Gary's scenarios are brilliant scenarios. You take a bit of getting your head around sometimes. Yeah.
Gary has said that those were masters. He wasn't writing scenario 101. He was writing scenario 501 or 601, and he wanted to add some complexity to it. Sometimes there's things going on inside of those scenarios that are done in such a way to force you to not necessarily play it away in a specific way, but to think about the way things are gone, because he didn't want this thing where, well, I'm just going to stuff the victory building and make you come get me. Yeah. He had victory conditions written in such a way that you had to sort of fall back correctly, right?
Yeah.
And how did Gary help us?
He copied and pasted the victory conditions in the reply. Yeah.
That's probably Gary's way of saying they're pretty self-evident. You could just read them.
Read it.
Exactly. He was right.
And he was right.
So,
He was right.
have you ever played the Kleckerweiss from him? His Kleckerweiss scenario.
I think I might have done.
I think that's some of his best work.
Okay.
The Kleckerweiss.
So that's from the 10 years. Is it?
I'm not sure if it's 10 years or whatnot, but it's a Germans attacking and they have to clear a hill before turn 5, or the French are attacking before the turn 5, and then if they don't clear the hill before turn 5,
got something else they can do.
Then
by
the
turn
Germans
7.
have to control the town by turn 10, and it's just this whirling dervish of a really interesting. And because you have to push, and then you have to run back if you don't get done on your push. And in many ways, I think that's a 5-turn scenario hiding inside of a 10-turn scenario.
Yeah.
But it's a really good one. And then Coriano's another great one, which is kind of a block control one.
Okay, you can't talk about these scenarios. Otherwise we'll be, you know.
Oh yeah, we're only allowed 3. We're only allowed 3.
All right.
You can't break the rules.
No breaking the rules.
We'll have you on another time.
Yeah.
To talk about other scenarios.
You can't.
Okay, so what's your second scenario?
So my second scenario is any 3-player scenario. I don't care what it was. It can be any 3-player scenario.
Yeah.
Preferably from what's the one? The town Budapest, Festung Budapest.
Yes.
There is
And I
one
want to
there,
play Sean Deller and Bill Cirillo.
yeah.
Okay,
He's
okay.
cheating, got an extra player in this.
Oh no, I'm not done cheating. But that's why I'm not done cheating. But I want to play those two because they're such a great tandem to play, and they're both really funny, and they're both really good players.
Okay.
And so every time I end up playing with them, we just have a tremendous time.
Yeah.
And then maybe a beer or two gets going, and it just becomes funny, and then the crap talking starts talking around the corner, and it becomes this fun sort of atmosphere. And I just love spending time with Bill and Sean. So that would be my number 2 pick.
And for that specific kind of thing, is that a 3-player scenario in two sides against
No,
one
no,
side?
no, it's
against one.
It's probably everybody has 3 turns,
Yeah,
and so usually they're a 5-turn scenario, but everybody has a. And it
Okay.
gets really crazy because during defensive fire phase, I can shoot you as the phasing player, and I can shoot you just because I want.
Right.
Yeah.
And both of us get to roll for snipers, and the snipers can hit anything, and it just becomes really crazy.
Right.
And then I've always had great games with both of them.
Is there a little bit a thing with it that if one person is beginning to win, that everybody's going to sort of gang up on them a little
Sometimes
bit?
that happens.
Yeah.
It becomes self-balancing
Yeah,
in
yeah,
that way,
yeah,
or
yeah.
it becomes one of like so maybe Bill and I would gang up on Sean, or Sean and I would be gang up on Bill just to get him out of the play, and then turn it down to us. But they're still in the background because you've got to keep your eye on him while you're advancing this one,
Right.
and then they just become fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
And so-
was it Bill that did Festung Budapest?
Yeah, Bill and Sean did Festung Budapest.
Right.
I think Bill did most of the design work
Yeah.
and whatnot, but much like I was with Gary,
Yeah.
Sean was Bill's primary play tester,
right.
especially when they lived down in the Hampton Roads area together. Sean was there. Sean had moved to Boston, and I think he's moved to North Carolina now.
Okay.
So they're not as close together as they used to be. But
And I hear he's a very strong player. Bill's.
Bill has won ASLOC several times.
Right.
He,
Wow, right.
At one point in time, he basically had the Grand Slam of ASL,
Oh, right.
where he won Winter Offensive, Albany,
Okay.
ASLOC.
Which gave it to him. Just send it to him here.
Yeah, basically he's one of those guys when he walks in the room, he's obviously one of the top players.
Yeah.
And, he would easily give Toby a match.
Right,
Just to give you an idea. I mean,
Yeah.
it would be a titanic clash
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
of 2 really good players. So
Okay,
they're
yeah.
both pretty strong players. And Sean is maybe just a little bit below Bill, but not much.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
There's not much that splits the two of them down.
Okay,
So they're
okay.
both really good players.
And you get to ask the designer any rules questions as well if you have.
Well,
any
I wouldn't
questions.
ask him questions because I would always fall against me. He's like, as the designer, right? So I wouldn't ask the questions, but they're good players.
Okay.
And I enjoy them.
That's fair.
And so number 3
Yeah.
is again any 3-player scenario, preferably one in Korea.
Okay.
And again, it's about the players: Andy Hershey
Yep.
and Keith Spurlock.
Okay.
So again, these guys are just 2 fantastic people I enjoy playing.
Okay.
Keith's brother Derek has passed recently, but Derek had made a whole bunch of counters for every nationality, 7-0 through 10-3. And so he's got all of these Spurlock counters.
Okay.
And so when Keith passed, or when Derek passed, Keith took on Derek set, and so he brings Derek set, and so whenever you get to play, you get to go digging through the counter set and find all the Spurlock counters, and so those become all my leaders on that side, and so it becomes Spurlock versus Spurlock, and, and I sit there and I start talking the malingering Spurlock, right? And the one time we were playing the Korean scenario, I had this Spurlock counter, and he had done nothing absolutely the whole game, but he finally gets up to the last turn, and he turns heroic, and he's able to fire a bazooka all by himself, and he takes the shot and kills the tank, and that was the difference between winning and losing. Right. And I'm like, okay, maybe he's okay. And then Andy Hershey and I, when we played together, we put on these fake honored accents. You adrift in the vast sea of my indifference. And we have this, the whole game is us going back and forth like Arnold. It's just silly. But so they're good people, and I enjoy spending time with them, and which is the theme of who I would invite to the island.
Right. Yeah. I'd say Hams, they're mostly very good players. In fact, all of them are very good players, but that isn't why you've chosen them.
No,
really.
It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with their ability. I mean, and their ability has nothing to do with why I think they're just good people. They're just fun people to play with. Yeah. And so for me, I come to tournaments. I'll play quote unquote competitively, because that's what's going on. But I'm really here to meet new people. So I had the chance to go to Supporting Fire this year, and it runs the same weekend. And I love that tournament. I've been before. I had a great time, but I've met those people last year, and I've played games with several of them. And there's new people here that I didn't meet. And so the opportunity with you're making the decision to come to, do I come to Blackpool? Do I go to Sweden and play the Supporting Fire? I came here to meet new people. And so that's what I do. I'd rather sit down and play somebody I've never played before, have an opportunity to interact, have an opportunity to discuss, ASL or whatever, and then, play some ASL, which is great, and then move on to something else rather than sit in another mini, play the same scenario I've played 40 times because there are only so many that fit minis against somebody I've played before. I just would rather play. I've never played either of you, so I had the opportunity to play both of you guys. So I'll add you to the long list of people that have beaten me. Well, not you, Dave. Not you, Dave. You're still on that. You're still waiting to join that list.
I'll look forward to it.
So it's that's what I would rather do.
Okay. And I'm very glad you came.
And I do have a fourth selection, small one. Fourth selection. I don't care the scenario. I want to play it with the President of the United States. I don't care which president it is.
Yeah.
And the reason is because they're never going to stop looking for him. I'm not spending any time on the island. My ASL kid's back in the States, so I'm going to get off the island. So my fourth invitee will be the president because, and it doesn't matter who he is as a president, they'll never stop looking for him, and I get to go home.
So it's 2 lots of 3s, the president, and what was it, one other?
What's that?
You've got 2 lots of 3 opponents, so
plenty of cheating going on.
Two, and
look, if you're not,
one.
as we say in America, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Absolutely.
And if you get caught, you're not trying hard enough.
So the final question, you get to take a non-ASL game in. I don't even know if you'd play non-ASL games.
I don't play any non-ASL games, so I'm not. I would rather take my Kindle. How about that, or a book that
you
I
don't
can read.
Card games. You don't play.
I play occasional card games with my wife, but
you can't take her.
I know. Well, maybe I could take her.
Why can't you take her?
Well, you can, but you've already had your 3
Okay, so I would like to amend my first one. Sorry, Gary,
we're going to be letting her know you took Gary instead of her. Yeah.
Don't watch this, Lisa. No, I don't play many other games. I mean, I play an occasional game with my kids. Like Mosaic or something like that. And sometimes at ASLOC late at night, I'll jump into a game, but I don't grasp games very quickly like other people do unless I have a chance to sit down and read the rules. And it's much like I feel about campaign games. I think campaign games are good, but when you're playing somebody's played the same campaign game 40 times, right? So jumping into a game with good players, because most ASL players are also good board game players, and you've never played before, and they're just beating you down because you can't get there. It's just, I don't enjoy that experience. If we're growing together, then okay, I'm willing to try it. But if I'm just the guy that's added in because you need 6 players, and I'm going to just sit here to struggle to understand it, then I
know what you mean. I've been in that situation.
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay, thank you very much.
Easy, straightforward.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir. Stop. No, you beat me. Well done, Dave.
Play me again sometime.